Welcome to the rotation with Mike and John. My name is Jonathan Sawyer. With me is my brother, Mike DeSanto. Mike, how is your evening and how was your week of baseball?
Good. My evening's going well. The weather up here in Rochester has finally broken, and the golfers that were here for the PGA Championship definitely are in favor of that. So, yeah, it's finally warm here, and my baseball week is going well. Our Yankees played well. There's been
Sir.
a lot of good games, honestly,
Yes,
this week.
yes.
A lot of good quality games from good quality teams that I think has showcased the competitiveness. How about yourself?
It's going great, man. It was a hot day here in Miami and took Bubba for a walk early in the morning. It was like 95 early, but it was nice. Nice to sit there and watch some golf this afternoon. Watch some, baseball a little bit before the hockey games.
Mm-hmm.
And then now watching my Miami Heat play, and hopefully they bring home a 3-0 dub. So it's been great, though. But you're right. I will tell you, though, that one thing that I mentioned last week was that baseball is very um, there hasn't been a lot of movement in baseball this
Mm-hmm.
year in the past couple weeks. It's been kind of stagnant in what we're seeing in games. You're right. A lot of good games, a lot of good pitching games, and then
Mm-hmm.
ultimately a lot of high scoring games as well. I think the
Yeah,
Cubs won the other day like 10-1 or something like that, but
I
it
did
was
see
like
that.
crazy. But it's going to be a great week of baseball coming up. We got Memorial Day, which is always fun baseball. But our Yankees, boy, they freaking came out swinging this week. Beat the Blue Jays, just swept the Reds. Mr. Judge on a tear right now. I think it was Friday. He hit 7 home runs in 7 games,
Mm-hmm.
and he's at the 13 or 14 home runs right now. But Harrison Bader, man, I think you were talking to me before the show. What were you saying about Bader?
It's just and it goes kind of back to one of my takes from last week. He's just proven to be a difference maker with this team. I mean, he's hitting for power way more than he did in St. Louis, but
Hmm.
also he's just hitting in clutch situations. You know, those
Yes.
those guided little like flares to right field that drive in a run, or even a sac fly like to the middle of the outfield. I mean, he's just doing the little things. Plus, still playing that Gold Glove, Platinum Glove defense. So I'm very
Dude.
impressed with Bader, and that Montgomery trade looks better and better. Or I shouldn't say better and better because Jordan Montgomery's a very good pitcher, but it
Yeah.
looks make more and more sense as to why they did it as he continues to play for these Yankees.
Well, the thing with Bader I love about him is he's like a Nick Swisher, but a better
Mm-hmm.
Nick Swisher.
Yep.
And no offense to Nick Swisher, I loved Nick Swisher. I had a jersey of his. Like I love Nick Swisher, but like he's like that Energizer Bunny for them. He just loves playing in New York. I mean, he grew up 45 minutes there. Grew up a Yankees fan. You got Volpe, who's living his childhood dream. They showed a picture of him the other day in a Yankees uniform, at I think it was a Little League World Series or something. It was showing like
Mm-hmm.
who his favorite players were, a team. The guys are just loving playing with each other, and it's just a great overall team right now. They're starting to hit their stride a little bit. We're starting to get pitching back. Sevy came back today, had a great outing.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we had to let go of Aaron Hicks this past weekend.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we love the sport. It's our, we love the sport because it's just something we grew up with. But at the end of the day, it is a business, and you have to make some tough business decisions. And he was the outlier on the lineup. Honestly, you look through the lineup, he is not the guy hitting, and it's been like that for a couple of years. And I don't think, and Booney said, it was very difficult. It was a very emotional,
Mhm.
very hard conversation that he had with him, and it's never easy to let someone go of that tenure with the Yankees.
Yeah, and Hicks said that he understands the move because he hasn't been playing well and this is a business. And let's face
Yeah.
it, they essentially replaced any skill he could provide through a few different people. I mean, they have bats in Franchi Cordero, Jake Bowers, and Willie
Yep.
Calhoun that can all also play the outfield. Cordero is not as good of a defender. I think of normal defenders, Hicks is the best of them, but they're not like Cordero and Bowers especially aren't slack. They're not nothing to scoff at in the outfield,
Yeah.
and they just got Greg Allen, who is a better base runner than Hicks, so he kind of with his non-production the last couple of years he's kind of, like you said, he's the odd man out, unfortunately.
Right.
And I wish him, as a Yankee fan, I have no ill
Right.
will towards Aaron Hicks. I wish him the best of luck. I hope he gets another chance because I think he can be a really good player. And I just think it's going to be a situation where a change of scenery is going to be really good for him. Less pressure is going to be
Yeah.
good for him.
When you're slumping in New York, any player that's ever played in New York will say it's the toughest environment when you're slumping. Derek Jeter said it. A-Rod has said it. You know, any of these great players that come through the New York Yankee organization have said, if you're in a slump, it's a terrible place. You better hope you're on the road for most of those games.
Right.
But if you're hitting the shit out of the ball, they love you. They put you on a freaking pedestal. And I think the writing was on the wall. They were showing some clips on Instagram of the bleacher creatures. They were calling, how they call out the names every single game.
Yeah.
And
the roll call,
the roll call, and they were calling out Hicks, and he wasn't looking. And I don't know if that was just because he was just angry with himself or whatnot, but you could tell the writing on the wall was there, and it was like, all right, I think it's time for him to go in that aspect. But, like the Yankees are playing great baseball right now. Pitching is doing great. I love the fact that we got 3 starters. And Herman, he's going to be out for 10 games, which is probably 2 starts. But hopefully Rondon is on a positive track up. We got Stanton on the way back. Should look good over here in May. I mean, the Yankees are, I think it was 16-4 or 14-6 in May right now. I think it's 16-4, but I'm not 100% sure.
That sounds right. That sounds like what I saw. Yeah.
But the MLB as a whole, Mike, is just nothing's moving in the standings. Yeah. Everything's just staying exactly the same the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, most teams are being competitive. It's just I think we've reached that point in the year where it's so competitive that everybody's right. Like I said, nobody's moving because everybody's winning and losing about as much as each other.
Right. Yeah. It's incredible. So, which I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying as a baseball fan. I'm enjoying as a, as we do this show, it gives us stuff to talk about because it does and it doesn't, right? So normal fans look at their standings and they're like, oh, nothing's happening. But you see different things happening. You see different people going and whatnot. So, but let's get into it, brother. Let's get into it. Let's go to our 5 takes of the week. This is where we give our 5 takes. That's our Yankee segment a little bit. Since we're both Yankee fans, if you're just tuning to the show right now, we're each going to give 5 takeaways of the week. And comment below. Let us know. Follow us on all our socials below here: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and then or in TikTok. And then on our audio version, it will be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeart Podcasts. Tune in there. Let's get into it, brother. Let's go. What is your first take of the week?
My first take of the week actually has a little bit to do with the Yankees in the sense of something that happened that you mentioned, which is Domingo Germán. And it's the overarching thing of the sticky stuff debate is only going to get worse.
Well, it's just annoying because it's like these pitchers have nothing, but all these batters have everything to do to make sure they have good grip on the bat, make sure they're tuned up for ready to get hit, but the pitchers don't have anything. And pitchers are still showing, that they're doing well in that aspect. So, I don't know. I'm confused by the whole sticky stuff.
Well, that's the thing. It is confusing, and that's why I'm saying it's only going to get worse because simply what is the rule? I mean,
exactly.
We've seen examples of, okay, so you can use the rosin bag, right? You can use the rosin bag. Okay, great. But now umpires are saying, all right, but in between innings, you have to wash any excess rosin from the rosin bag and any of the powder off of your hands before you go in the next inning. That's what these guys are getting sent back into the dugout for to go wash their hands. It's rosin. Now, Germán, apparently James Hoyt, who was the crew chief on that particular umpire crew and had dealt with Germán before when he had to go wash his hands and there was the big argument and all that, said that wasn't rosin. It was the stickiest hands I've ever felt in my life. So apparently Germán had something else. But where's the line? That's what I'm wondering now, and that's why I'm saying it's only going to get worse. Because as far as I can tell from watching many different teams, there is no line. It's all up to umpire interpretation. So you, as a pitcher, putting myself in the mindset of a pitcher, I don't know what I'm getting.
Well, especially if it's a long inning. I don't know what
that guy's rule is.
Well, especially if it's a long inning and you're trying to, go through an inning, you're sweating, it's a hot environment, you got rosin there, and then all of a sudden the coach calls for it. Hey, you need to put your go check that guy. You need to go check the pitcher. And it's like, dude, I've been out here for what, 25 minutes. I'm sweating my
Right.
ass off. Like I'm just touching the rosin to get better grip on the ball.
Right.
So like, I don't know. I didn't mind it before, right? I didn't mind any extra enhancement for the pitchers. I like a pitcher's duel. I'm that fan. I'll go there and watch 9 innings of 0-0 baseball and watch a good pitching duel go on. I doesn't bother me.
Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me either. I understand the wanting to get rid of that spider tack stuff because that might be overly like
Yeah.
overkill as far as like okay, now it's an unfair advantage for a, a pitcher against a hitter because now
Right.
it's over rotating the ball and stuff like that. But yeah, using the rosin bag or having that little bit of stuff just to make sure as a batter, I want them to have a good grip on the ball. I don't want to get beamed in the head.
Yeah.
I want them to have
Not on
control.
fastball.
So serious, like ask Giancarlo Stanton how it feels to get hit in the face with a fastball.
Yeah, or any of the guys that
Right,
have.
exactly. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it, but if we're gonna do this is my final point on it before we get to your first take. If you're gonna do this, make it a clear rule that all umpires go by. Don't make it up for judgment
Yeah.
like it appears to be.
Yeah.
That's me.
I mean,
What?
that's that. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. What's your first takeaway this week?
My first takeaway is secretly no one's talking about. Some people are. I read it on some articles today, but Ronald Acuna Jr. is on Fuego, is what I put. He is hitting the shit out of the ball. He's batting 344, has 18 stolen bases, 11 homers, 27 RBI. His OPS is 1.031. His OBP is 0.431. He is just catching fire. In 180 at bats, had 62 hits. That's
Wow.
he's hitting the shit out of the ball. Coming back from that ACL injury and just like I know he was back last year, but he just took off, and it's incredible to see, that guy at his talent. And there's no wonder the Braves are having success because
Oh
that's
yeah.
their best player. And if your best player is playing well, you as a team, there's nothing more exciting than to see that.
Yeah, I mean, the dude is a different level of talent, and yeah, he's leading what is also a good, overall good Braves offense. I
Yes.
would say, I mean, he's got to be the early favorite for the NL MVP. I know we're still
That's what I
relatively early
saw.
in the year, but I mean, just the fact that he's a five-tool player through and through, he's a five-tool player.
Hmm.
And what else is scary for the league? He's young.
Very young.
He's 25.
Yeah.
He just turned 25 in December. So he's still
Has
got
he
like
signed
another
his max deal yet or no?
I think so. I will double check that, but I believe they do have him locked up long term.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
just incredible.
it's just they said he was going to be a phenomenal talent. He is a phenomenal talent.
Right.
I don't really count, you know, because there was talk of like, oh, he lost a step because of the ACL injury. It's an ACL injury, and he's a very energetic player. So coming back
Hmm.
from that injury, it was going to take him time to really get back into the swing of things, especially how
Yeah.
long with an injury like that you have to stay away from all baseball activities. You can't run, you can't throw, you can't swing, you can't do anything. So
Right.
I figured he'd be back to a good like all-star level this year because he had time to, strengthen the knee, get through spring training and get his drills down and get back in the swing of things. But
Right.
I agree with you. The dude is just, like you said, he's on another level.
Yeah,
He's on a
he's
whole.
playing type of Aaron Judge type ball right now in the NL. It's scary for the Braves because they're the hottest team, and they don't really have anybody pressing them in the East right now, and that's good. And I don't think the team has hit their stride yet, in my opinion. I think their pitching
No.
could be better, but their bats are flying. And the other guy, Marcelo Osuna, is finally starting to find his groove again, which we talked about 3 or 4 shows ago. He's finally starting to find his groove.
Yeah.
So
And
what
by
is
the way,
your last point?
oh, I was just gonna say I did look it up. He is on a long-term deal with the Braves. His first eligible year of spring training is 27, but it could end up going to 28 or 29, and they got him on a steal. It's an even $100 million for 8 years.
Yeah, that was that after your rookie deal, after arbitration, he got that.
Mhm.
I remember.
Yep.
Remember him signing during the season. So that's smart by the Braves, and if they're smart, they'll lock him in. But what is your second take of the week?
My second take of the week will actually piggyback a little bit off of that, and I have one about Atlanta, which is that Atlanta is a good road team, and that's a problem for everyone else.
Yeah, for real.
They are 17-7 on the time of recording. They are 17-7 this year on the road.
Wow.
So if they can turn it around, I think 12-10. Yeah, 12-10 at home. If they can start getting a higher win percentage at home, they may be unstoppable in the National League.
Yeah,
It's
probably.
hard to win on the road. So if they're already doing that, I can only see them getting better.
Yeah, that's incredible. And the biggest thing is playing on the road during the playoffs. If you are a team who can go into another place that's in a hostile environment, whether it's the Phillies, the Dodgers, Padres, those fan bases are relentless, right? And then if they make it to the World Series, they go to Houston, they go to Yankees, they go to, any of those places. It's going to be a hostile environment, and knowing how to play on the road is one thing, but you have to defend your own home stadium too. So
Correct.
it's early. I think that will turn around, but you have to be able to play good. They got to play good at Truist Park. Those Braves fans that's one of the most hostile stadiums probably in baseball. One of the most. So during the playoffs, they need to they need to lock that in. So, but that's 3 or 4 months away. But just my own mindset is like it's good for the playoffs for the road team, but you have to lock it in for home games.
Definitely, and like you said, I think they have the time to kind of turn that around and all that, which is just what impressed me so much. Is they're already getting out just such a good winning percentage on the road. They'll find ways to start winning more games in their own park.
Right, exactly.
What is your second takeaway of the week?
My second take goes up into Toronto, and this was a very cool moment that I saw with Vlad Jr. giving a bat to a young fan who beat cancer, and the young fan was sitting behind the home plate, and the sign said, "Hey, Bo, I beat cancer like you beat the pitcher." And Vlad Guerrero saw that, signed the bat, and gave it to the kid. So hats off to Vlad Guerrero for doing that. And then also Kevin Kiermaier gave his batting gloves for his whole. This kid will cherish Kevin Kiermaier's batting gloves for his whole life. On John Boy Media was the one that tweeted it out. So hats off to it's a classy move by the Blue Jays and Vlad Guerrero Jr. to do that. I just wanted to make sure we recognize that because that's what they play this game for. Ultimately, is the fans. They play it for the love of the game, but the fans are what keep them going. And to see something like that that's bigger than life, and we've talked about this before, in such a young age, breaks your heart to hear a kid has to go through cancer, but to hear that he beat it and he conquered that fear. Congratulations to you, young man, and I hope you have a long, healthy life.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely a congratulations to you. You've done something that, not everybody can say they did, unfortunately, but you're proven that you're strong, you're a warrior, and, absolutely you have a special place in all of our hearts for what you've been through and that you've come out the other end stronger. And yeah, hats off to the organization for Toronto. There's obviously things that are bigger than the game, and they understand that. And so to be able to make that kid's day, month, year, baseball life is awesome. And so yeah, I have much respect to Vlad and Kiermaier and Bo Bichette and the entire Blue Jays organization for doing something awesome like that. I think
Yeah,
it's awesome.
definitely. Yeah, it's definitely awesome and definitely great to hear. So, what is your third take of the week?
The third take of the week is the AL East is probably going to keep flipping order like this for most of the year. As
Yeah,
far as like everybody kind of, it looks like we're trending towards a year where all five teams are kind of within a few games of each other and just
right,
keep like swapping spots every day, every week, which is great. I mean, I as much as I want the Yankees to be at the top of that at all times. So personally, but I think it's
right.
awesome for the game that you can have a division like that's turning out to be this year, where like we said before, it's just so competitive. There's just talent on all these teams, and they're all giving each other good games.
I think the biggest thing that's shocking to me is seeing Baltimore 31-16 right now, and they're playing both good at home and on the road. So
Yep.
seeing that is surprising. I would have expected Toronto to be there. I still think Tampa, Yankees, and Toronto will be 1, 2, 3. Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
the Yankees 1, 2, 3, I still think it's going to go that way. I think eventually Baltimore will plateau out. Same with Boston. But you're right. I mean, I think it's going to be a very tough division this year. Every single team right now has a winning record, and it's close. I mean, 2.5 back are the Baltimore Orioles as of today, May 21st. New York Yankees are 5.5 back. Boston 7.5. Toronto 8.5. So the biggest thing I always say to you, and I've always said this to you when it comes to a baseball team, any team in general, if you're Toronto, you're trying to just pass Boston. So basically, you're a game back. Then
Right.
once you conquer that, then you conquer the Yankees. Then you can't conquer the Rays right now. You're 8.5 back, so you can't get that back as quick as possible, right? So if you get back one position, that's where you got to see. And that's where I see the Yankees. They were at the bottom of the division a few weeks ago. Now they're third, 5.5 back. Much more realistic now to go catch Baltimore, who's 3 games up on you. And I think they have a series with Baltimore coming up. And then same with Baltimore. You're only 2.5 back from the Rays. So you can
Right.
go and catch them. So
Right.
I think I agree with you. I think that division is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all like it's going to scramble all year long. But I think that Toronto, Yankees, and Rays will all like be in that top 3 towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree. I think for sure for the long haul, those are the three best teams in the division. But yeah, Baltimore's impressive. Baltimore's
Very
beginning to the season has been very
and
impressive.
young.
I figured last year was not a complete fluke. They
Right.
had made a lot of strides last year to being a competitive team. They're making more strides this year, and that's just what you have to do when you're rebuilding a team. And yeah, they're young, they're hungry, and I think they're going to end up being a major contender in 2-3 years when they really build up that roster and
Yeah.
lock in the players they want. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that division goes and how much stress it puts on us as fans.
Right, right. Yeah, that's one thing I keep saying to myself is like, I hope the I hope the Yankees end up on top this year. They have to get their pitching down. That's ultimately
Mhm,
what has to come about the Yankees
mhm.
and everything. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Awesome. What is your next takeaway?
So my next takeaway is Clayton Kershaw.
Oh,
As of today, he is 6-4 with a 2.98 ERA. He has 69 strikeouts, which leads the entire baseball team. I think he pitched today because he was 6-3. So in 10 games, he's 6-4. He in April he was he ended April 5-1 with a sub 2.3 ERA. Now he's 2.98, struggling a little bit in May, but it's good to see the old Kershaw kind of still in there. I think LA needs to kind of weather him a little bit. He's not the young Kershaw that they had back in '08 or Cy Young Kershaw, so they
yeah.
have to weather that kind of storm. So I just want to give a hats off to him. He's playing in his, I think, 15th year right now. Um, he's definitely showing that he's still able to go and leading the team in Ks. Only 14 walks this year, which is one of the
Wow, really?
lowest on there. So that's huge for your starter. If you know you can get 5 or 6 innings out of Kershaw, we talked to Mr. Trade about that all the time. I talk to him about that all the time. If you can get 5 or 6 innings and not let your bullpen take over in the second, that's huge for playoff teams.
Yeah, and so especially because there's been talk over the last 2 years that Kershaw's done. Like, oh, he should just retire. He's not gonna. The Dodgers won't bring him back, or Texas maybe they'll get him as a fifth starter, but his best days are behind him, and he's showing no, he's not. You know, Cy Young MVP year Kershaw, but he's still a very capable pitcher,
Yeah,
especially as
I agree.
as a lefty, where there's always been talk of baseball has an extreme lack of big time left-handed pitchers.
Right, exactly.
So
And that's something that I'm seeing too, right? Like I don't think they have a lot of left-handed starters, and with I believe what's his face? Not
to the
their
Dodgers,
starter who yeah, the starter that got hurt last year. I forget his name.
Julio Urias.
No, no, no,
Oh,
no.
Walker
The one that
Bueller.
got hurt, Walker Bueller. With him being out, they
Yeah.
need a guy, and they need this. I mean, 6-4 right now, right? It has a 1.10 WHIP, but as of April, you saw young Kershaw, pitching
Mm-hmm.
good baseball, 5-1, really commanding the strike zone, feeling out his pitches. And then I give hats off to Roberts because he didn't let him go and like he used to, and just let Kershaw battle, which I give him credit for. So
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Roberts has always done right by Kershaw as far as like
yeah.
understanding. Well, outside the playoffs, Roberts has done.
There's been a lot of
Roberts,
times where he's left him in when he shouldn't
that's
have.
true.
I don't care who he is. He's
But
left
as
him in
far
a
as
lot
like,
of times.
well, yeah, Roberts,
Respect for him, yes, but smart decision in the game, no. There's been times where Kershaw's been getting blasted, and it's like he just leaves him out there, and it's just like, all right, pull him, get someone up.
yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he normally doesn't do that with Kershaw, but I think personally he's done right by Kershaw in the sense of
Right.
like letting him be himself. And yeah, I'm excited to still see Clayton Kershaw be Clayton Kershaw, even if it's just mostly in glimpses during his
Right.
starts. But yeah, I think that's awesome, and yeah, hats off to him for continuing to battle Father Time as long as he can.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to your fourth take of the week. What is
Yeah,
your fourth take?
my fourth take of the week will stay in the National League with this one. The
Okay.
NL Central isn't great, but it's not terrible. Like there's some pretty good teams in the Central. They're not fantastic teams, but they're competitive. The Cardinals are on the rise now. The Brewers are being the Brewers and getting off to a pretty good start within the division. Pirates still staying above 500, which was they weren't expected to be at 500 at any point this year. So another hats off moment of hats off to them. But yeah, there's some decent teams in the Central. Not great, but they're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean the Cardinals jumped up to third in the division as of today, May 21st.
Mm-hmm.
They're 8-2 in their last 10, 1-2 in a row. The run differential is only plus 18, but I feel like that's going to start going up. I feel like the team is starting to find their swing,
Mm-hmm.
with Goldschmidt and Arenado leading the way with that. But they have a lot of great talent, and I think their pitchers are starting to really move in the right direction and start pitching good baseball. And like I said before, just finding the next team ahead of you and just conquering them.
Right.
The next victim for the Cardinals is Pittsburgh. Go ahead and take advantage of that. I think they play Pittsburgh in a few weeks here. But uh, that's one thing that I see a lot of teams that you got to take one day at a time. Like they have a 4-game stand going up against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's struggling right now. You're gonna have Montgomery, Libator, Wainwright, and Matz, all 4 key guys who can go out there and get you 4 wins. Cincinnati's playing terrible baseball right now, and they play Pittsburgh in a few weeks on a 3 games home way stand. So this is your time to go ahead to take advantage of the division right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is our division, not theirs. And then when you can, go ahead and take advantage of. They don't play Milwaukee for a while. Maintain the distance and try to not get it so far back, right?
Yeah, I mean the schedule. I think looking at it up until mid July is on their side. They're playing a lot of teams that have not trended well. Cincinnati,
Yeah.
Kansas City, the White Sox, like those types of
Cleveland.
teams. Cleveland. So it's not they have the games to do it. But yeah, I agree with you. That mindset has to be like, okay, let's pass Pittsburgh first and then we'll worry about Milwaukee. Same thing with Pittsburgh. All right, we have the division lead. Milwaukee jumped us. Let's jump them back, you know, and make progress to that. But again,
Right.
I'm just impressed with the competitiveness within each other of these NL Central teams.
Yeah, I agree.
What is your fourth takeaway of the week?
My fourth takeaway, I'm gonna go ahead. This is as of May 21st. I know I said that a few times. Just want you guys to know that
Right.
this is of May 21st. My top three teams in the league, my power rankings, John's power rankings of the season so far. And I hate when they do it every single week, but I'm gonna do it here probably every 3 or 4 shows. So right now I have the Tampa Bay Rays at number 1. And number 2, I have the Atlanta Braves. And at shocking number 3, I know you're probably going to think the Dodgers, but I'm going with the Texas Rangers right now. So the Texas Rangers at 3, the Braves at 2, and the Rays at 1. And I'll give my reasonings behind that. The Rangers are playing good baseball. They have a really good offensive team. And I think they're just not, they haven't gone to that next level in the pitching. Once the pitching starts to lock in, man, they're just going to run. I think they're just going to run away with that division. I think the Astros are down from last year. The White Sox aren't even competitive. Who else we got? We have the Angels, who the hell knows? And obviously that team in Oakland or Vegas, wherever. I mean, Oakland's so bad, bro. It's bad. They're 176. They have 176 runs scored total.
Yep.
And 344 runs against. No one in the league has 344 over 300 right now as of today.
Mm-hmm.
But I see if the Rangers start finding their groove pitching wise, they could be a very dangerous team. So that is my power rankings as of May 21st. Rays 1, Braves 2, Rangers 3.
Yeah, I think the Rays and Braves, whichever one you want to put first, second. I mean, there's arguments for, I think, both. I agree with you that the order is Rays, Braves, but they are clearly the 2 best teams in the league right now. Mm-hmm. Texas, interesting pick, but I like it because, yes, I like that, like what you said, their lineup is really good. Mm-hmm. And they're doing a lot of this offensive success without Corey Seager.
Correct.
Like, he's been missing for
was great.
Oh, yeah. When he has played this year, he's been fantastic. It's just he's missed handfuls of games here and there. Marcus Semien is proving that he deserved the contract they gave him, both offensively and defensively. Adolis Garcia is – I'm a big fan of his swing from the outfield.
Yeah.
It's just, man. Mitch Garver behind the plate. I'm a big fan of Mitch Garver behind the plate. He's getting better defensively. You're right. And if they can get their pitching healthy and even halfway on track, that is a division that they can easily win. I agree with you. So I like that pick.
I mean, right now, like if you look at it, here are the 4 top pitchers for them is Nathan Eovaldi. And I'm not sure if these are starters or not. They don't look like starters. They look like starters because of how many games they've played. But, I mean, Jacob deGrom isn't even on there. I think he's hurt right now. I think he's out. I think he's hurt for right now. But I'm looking at these guys like Nathan Eovaldi is their best pitcher at 2.83. You know, he only has 61 Ks on the team. You know, and then Andrew Heaney has 52 Ks, but they're all over 4. They can lock those 3 other starters down. John Gray, Martin Perez, Andrew Heaney. If they can lock those other 4 starters down, get them under a 3 ERA, which would be hard. They really have to pitch stellar over the next 6 or 7 starts. But if they can get them under a 3, that's a scary lineup, especially going into the playoffs. If you have Jacob deGrom coming back, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, no, they have silently pieced together a pretty good pitching staff. They got John Gray 2 or 3 years ago, and everyone was like, okay, but he's like the only starter they have now. Then Perez ended up being an all-star, which nobody really expected. He kind of bounced back from shaky beginning to his career. But yeah, you add DeGrom in the offseason, you add Evaldi in the offseason.
Right.
It's just I mean they could be a problem to get out in the playoffs. I don't know if
Yeah.
they're quite ready fully to win a title yet, but they could be one of those teams that they could be what Toronto has been like the last few years, just a tough out
Yeah.
at
Agree.
any team. So yeah,
Agree.
I like that pick a lot.
Definitely. Definitely. All right, Mike. Let's wrap it up with our final takes of the week. With our fifth
Okay.
take of the week, what is your final take? Your fifth take of the
Well,
week.
it's funny you mentioned my fifth take of the week because you have mentioned my fifth take of the week, which is that the Oakland, soon to be Vegas Athletics appear to be trending to be one of the worst teams in league history. They are like I all I can say is exactly what you said. They're just bad. They're just
I think you should be an
really
A's
bad.
fan. I think you should be
Why?
an A's fan
Why?
because this is the third time you've talked about them, and I think you secretly like them.
I don't.
I think
I
you're an
like the
A's fan.
movie
You're a West
Moneyball.
Coast boy. You're a West
No,
Coast
no, no,
boy.
no, 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 no. I like the movie Moneyball.
I love that
I'm not.
movie. I'll watch it
Such
tonight.
such a good movie. Yeah, it's but yeah, man, they're just like you said. Like I was gonna bring up exactly the statistic that you brought up, which is that they have given up more runs than anyone has scored.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just bad. They just got to 10 wins, like yesterday.
yeah, no, I saw that. I was like, holy shit, it's terrible. So it's not helping their case in moving out of that city,
Yeah,
and keeping that city. But yeah, it's bad. It's bad for sure. I don't even know what to say. I mean, the organization is it
right.
the team that's bad? Is it the team that doesn't want to play for that team? Like I don't know. Like I can't really put a finger on it. The team just the pitching sucks. The decision making sucks. I mean, if your owners can't even put together, 1,000 people to come to the game, how can you even want to play for that team? What makes you want to get up in the morning and go play? I know you're playing Major League Baseball. You're getting paid a contract, probably a shit ton more than that team in '01 that's portrayed from the Moneyball team. But
Mhm.
still, like, what makes you want to go to the ballpark every day? It's got to be tough, and
Exactly.
especially knowing you're done for. They're pretty much done this year, unless they make a huge comeback, which will be the biggest comeback in probably MLB history.
Yeah, unless they break their record from the Moneyball
Just
time
22
of
games, right?
consecutive wins. Right. Yeah, it was like 20, 22 games. Yeah. Unless they do that, unless they break an MLB record, they're done. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
for
I'm
sure.
sorry, A's fans out there. If you're watching or listening, you're done. You have to understand you're done. Because the thing is,
Yeah,
I can speak at least in my mind to what the roster problem is, which is that they got rid of everyone they could.
right.
So now at least half their roster should on any other organization, on any other MLB team, half the roster would probably be in AAA. But because they don't have anybody else to fill the spots, those guys end up on a major league roster, and good for them. They get to play in the
Right.
bigs. But the question is not are they playing in the bigs? Should they be playing in the bigs? And probably not. A lot of them probably not. They're just not ready.
Right.
They're just not ready.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that is what it is. Like they're bad. They're gonna be bad. It is what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
What is your fifth takeaway of the week to send us on out of here?
So to send us on out of here, I'm gonna just be blunt and say it. I think
Okay.
Francisco Lindor is an overrated player.
Ooh.
I think he's a good fielder. Um, I think he's a good player. I don't think he's this 300 million plus 10-year deal player. And I have nothing against the guy, or other than that, his play has not been to what his salary is. If you're expected to pay $35 million or whatever his salary is, I think it's north of that. Why aren't you performing, bro? Like you're batting. I have the stats right now. Like right, like when he first came in the league, broke out crazy. 99 games, 313 average. Next year, crazy 301 average. Oh, should have been probably MVP. Probably was MVP. Then next year, it declined 273. Year after that, 277. Oh, he came back up in his one of his final years. I think that was the year. Oh, in 301 was the World Series year. Batted crazy, right? 258. As his final year in with the Guardians, and then he gets traded to the. I'm sorry, he got traded to the Mets that year too. Um, it's just for me like he's not performing to the level that if I was a GM, you're supposed to. I mean, this year he's at batting 230, 6 home runs, 32 RBIs, 4 stolen bases. His OBP is 307. His OPS is 717. And 183 at bats, you only have 42 hits this year, which isn't all-star type player to me.
No, I agree. I happen to have been watching prior to us, hopping on here. I happen to be watching the Mets and coincidentally Cleveland game. He hit a home run, but yeah, they showed when for his first at bat, they showed his numbers Cleveland compared to the Mets. He came into the game tonight a 256 hitter as a Met. He was a 273 hitter with the Guardians. He also has not made, this is his third season, he has not been an all-star yet. He has not finished top 10 in MVP voting. He hasn't won a Gold Glove. He hasn't won a Silver Slugger. He hasn't done anything with, now granted, it's only been 2 months, almost 2 months of time. He has not done a single thing he did with the Guardians as a Met. So yeah, he's slacking.
In my opinion, that's uncalled for. He is being paid $341 million over 10 years. That works down to probably $34.1 million per year. If I'm doing my math right quick in my head, it might not be accurate, but it's $34 million a year. And he's not on any of those lists that he was supposed to be on. And that's what frustrates me because I feel like it's there, but I don't know if it's the organization that he's like, he just can't seem to get out of that curse of being with Met or what. But it's frustrating for me because I see a lot of Mets games and what is wrong with him? Like, come on, bro. Like you're a face of MLB, or you were, young, flashy player, really good dude, really good person. And I'm not questioning his character, his dedication to the game at all. I just want to see that Cleveland, that Cleveland Lindor. I want to see that MVP type Lindor. I want to see that spectacular player Lindor. And I'm not putting all this. And if any Mets fans are listening, I'm not putting all your lows on him. Not one bit. It's definitely other players. It's your starting rotation. It's your pitching. We can keep going for days. They're starting to go on the incline, which is good. Like you said, he hit a home run tonight, which I saw before we came on here. And I know people are going to say, "Oh, he's trending up." Yeah, I'm hoping so because I want to see that. That guy is fun to watch, and I love watching him play because he looks like he's having fun out there. But let's get back to that type of MVP type year what he had in 2016 when he took the Guardians or Indians now Guardians to the World Series and almost won it. That's what I want to see. But I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were that close. Game 7.
They were that close.
This close.
I mean, it kind of, it's funny. I know you may get a chuckle out of this because I have to give you a miracle quote now because it made me think of it. You ever see him when his game's on?
Yeah, right.
I mean, he's just, when he's playing, like I agree, when he's playing up to what he can, he is an MVP candidate. He's a phenomenal player. I want to see it too. I want to see that old Lindor because that old Lindor is fun to watch and he makes baseball better.
100%. Yeah. I agree.
I hope he comes
100%.
back. I hope he gets to that.
I hope he does too. And I know my wife's uncle, if he watches this, he's gonna be mad at me. But I know he's probably waiting for that type of Lindor too. But ultimately, let's see if it happens on the second half. Like I said, we're only in May. Hopefully, it trends upward. The Mets are trending upward, and this show is trending upward. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Make sure you comment below. Let us know your takes of the week. Let us know what you think of ours. Happy to have some conversation back and forth. And definitely make sure you tune in every single week. We'll be here throwing it up on our socials. Remember, below Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter for socials, for audio versions, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeart Podcasts. Make sure you tune in every single week to the rotation. And of course, on Thursdays, we have Cinco Squad. We'll see you guys here next week. Mike, any final thoughts?
The Yankees are doing better, and I'm excited about it. Let's go baseball. I'm ready for it to be America's pastime once again.
Definitely. Most definitely. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you here next week.